Hi everyone, we are starting our 2024 Potholders Galore Crochet-Along with this beginner-friendly double crochet striped potholder to help us learn the basics of crocheting in the round. The beauty of crocheting in the round is that it can be crocheted in one piece, it has an invisible side seam, and it's double thick so you can use it safely in your kitchen. You can find the free written pattern linked in the description box below. Let's get started. Alright guys, to make this potholder, you are going to need a 4mm crochet hook, a pair of scissors, a yarn needle, and 2 stitch markers. If you don't have stitch markers, you can use safety pins. You're also going to need 100% cotton or 100% wool yarn. For my potholders, I'm using I Love This Cotton, which is a worsted weight medium 4 cotton yarn. If you prefer to use a different yarn, any medium 4 worsted weight cotton yarn will be fine. You can make this potholder using just one solid color, like this blue here, or you can use multiple colors and do it in stripes. Depending on which option you choose, I will put the amount of yarn that you need on the following screen. Alright guys, so the first thing that we're going to do is make a slip knot, place it on your hook, and tighten it up. Now we're going to chain 31. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 31. Now that you have your beginning chain, what we're going to do is we are going to skip the first 2 chains, so this one right next to our hook and this second one, and we're going to go into the 3rd chain here. We're going to yarn over and we're going to make a double crochet. So insert your hook into that chain, going underneath that top loop. We're going to yarn over, pull up a loop, so we have 3 loops on our hook, yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops. So that makes a double crochet. Now the 2 chains that we skipped, those do not count as a stitch. So this first double crochet that we made, that's going to be our first stitch of the round. So we're going to take our stitch marker and you're just going to put it under both loops and lock that in place. Okay, now going into the next chain, we're going to make a double crochet again, going underneath that top loop. And we're going to double crochet in each chain across. Alright guys, we have 1 chain left to work into. So into this last chain, we are going to make 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. So this counts as our corner. So now we're going to rotate our work so that we are looking at the bottom of our chain. And what we're going to do is we're going to skip this chain that we just worked into with the 3 double crochets, and we are going to go into the next chain. So right here, we're going to go underneath that bottom loop, insert your hook, and we're going to make a double crochet. Now we're going to double crochet in each chain across until we get to the last chain. Okay guys, we have 2 chains left to work into. So we're just gonna work into that second last chain like normal and make a double crochet. Now into this last chain, so this is our last chain. This is our beginning chain 2 that we skipped. So we're just going to ignore this part and just go into this last chain here. So into that last chain, we're going to make 2 double crochets. Now the reason we're doing 2 double crochets is because we started off already working 1 double crochet into this chain, so that makes a total of 3 double crochets to complete our corner. Now this is our first stitch of the round, and this is our last stitch. So with your stitch marker, you're just going to insert the stitch marker. You don't have to close it because we're going to be working into this stitch pretty quickly, but just have it hanging there so that you know where that stitch is. Now going into this first stitch of the round, we are going to just remove our stitch marker quickly, and we're going to make a slip stitch. So insert your hook into that stitch going under both loops, front and back, yarn over, pull through the stitch, and pull through the loop on your hook. Before you forget, keep that stitch marked. That first stitch of the round, we're going to keep that marked with our stitch marker. And that completes round 1. Alright guys, to start round 2, we're going to turn our work so that the back side of our stitches are facing us. So chain 2 to start. And remember that this beginning chain 2, it does not count as a stitch. So this is the last stitch of the round that we worked, and it's marked with our stitch marker. So we're just going to remove our stitch marker, and we're going to go into that stitch. This is going to be the first stitch of the round, and we're going to make a double crochet. Now mark that with your stitch marker, and you can lock it this time. Okay, now you're going to find your next stitch, which is here. You're going to go under both loops, and you're going to make a double crochet. And we're going to double crochet in each stitch around. We're coming up on our corner with the 3 double crochets, so this corner is a bit tight, but we're, again guys, just make a double crochet in each stitch all the way around. So we've just completed basically the top part of our pot holder. Now we're going to work along the bottom and just make a double crochet. This is what it's looking like so far. We have arrived at our stitch marked stitch, so this is going to be our last stitch of the round. So just remove your stitch marker, go into that stitch under both loops, and make a double crochet. Now mark that stitch with your stitch marker. You can leave it open. And we're going to find the first stitch of the round, which is marked with our stitch marker. Just remove that. Insert your hook under both loops, yarn over, pull through the stitch and the loop on your hook to make a slip stitch. And again, we're just going to mark that first stitch with our stitch marker and lock it. So this is what round 2 looks like. And as you guys can see, it's starting to fold inwards and make almost like a little pouch. To start round 3, we are going to turn our work so that the back side of round 2 stitches are facing us, and we're going to chain 2. Again guys, this beginning chain 2 doesn't count as a stitch, So we're going to find our first stitch marker, which is right here. This is going to be where we put our first stitch of the round. So remove your stitch marker, insert your hook into that stitch, and make a double crochet. This is our first stitch of the round, so we're going to mark that with our stitch marker, and you can lock that in place. Now round 3 is the exact same as round 2, so we are going to just work a double crochet in each stitch around. Alright guys, we're at the last stitch of the round, and this is marked with our stitch marker, so we're just going to remove it, and we're going to make the final double crochet into that stitch. Now mark this with your stitch marker, and again, you guys do not have to close it. Okay, at this point we are going to change color. If you are making this potholder in a single color, then just ignore this part and make your slip stitch as normal. So we're going to find the first stitch of the round that's marked by our stitch marker, and we are going to insert our hook into that stitch, going underneath both loops. Now drop your current color, leave a nice long tail, and we are going to trim it because we're no longer going to need it. Now grab your next color, color B, and loop it over your finger. Now pull it through that stitch and pull it through the loop on your hook, and that completes our slip stitch, and we've now changed color. So to tighten this up, you can pull on your previous yarn strand as well as your new color strand, and that just kind of tightens things up. If you'd like to make this join a little bit more secure, what you can do is make a slip knot, leaving a long enough tail to weave in your ends later, and place that slip knot on your hook and then tighten it up. Now you can pull that new color through your stitch and through the loop on your hook, and that way your color change is secured with a knot. So this is what the end of round 3 looks like. Alright guys, to start round 4, we're going to turn our work and we're going to chain 2 with our new color. So the beginning chain 2 doesn't count as a stitch, so we're going to find our first stitch marker, which is right here, and we're going to remove it, and we're going to make our first double crochet of the round in that stitch and mark it with your stitch marker and lock it. Now round 4 is the exact same as round 2 and round 3. We're just using a different color, so we're just going to double crochet in each stitch around. Alright guys, we're at our last stitch marker, so this marks our last stitch of the round, so just remove it and insert your hook into that stitch and make a double crochet. Mark this stitch with your stitch marker, but you don't have to close it yet. We're going to find that first stitch of the round marked with our stitch marker. Insert your hook into that stitch and make a slip stitch. And remark that stitch with your stitch marker. And so this is what we have, but this is what our project should look like. So you're going to change color at the end of every third row. So at the end of round 6, you're going to change color just like we did with round 3, and so on. Alright guys, we're at the end of round 14, and we've just made it to our first stitch of the round, which is marked by our stitch marker. So we're just going to remove it, and we are going to insert our hook into that stitch and make our slip stitch to join the round. So this is what our potholder looks like so far. All that's left to do is to crochet across the top of our potholder and add a chain circle. But before we do that, we are going to figure out whether or not our potholder is facing the right way. So in order to check that, we are going to figure out what the front side of our stitches look like and what the back side look like. This is round 13 for me. This is round 14. So round 14, you can see it's nice and flat. This is the front side of our stitch. And round 13, this is what the back side looks like. It's kind of jutted out a little bit. Now, I want you guys to look at your first round, this area right here. If the back side of your stitches are in this round and you can see them, then we need to flip our potholder inside out. If round 1 for you guys looks like the front side of the stitches, so it looks like this, very flat, and you can see the front of the stitches, then you're good. You can keep your potholder the way it is. For me, I have to flip mine inside out. Alright, so this is good. The back side of round 14 is facing me. That's exactly what we want. The next thing we're going to do is weave in all of our ends before we close the top of our potholder, except for this long strand here that's currently hanging from our work. We want to use this end to crochet across the top, so don't weave in this end, but weave in all other ends. Okay guys, so I've placed the loop back on my hook. So what we're looking at here in the center is our beginning chain 2 that doesn't count as a stitch. The stitch on the left is our first stitch and the stitch on the right is our last stitch. So I want you guys to just quickly mark that last stitch so that you can see it when we kind of turn our work. Okay, now we're going to chain 2. And we're going to insert our hook into that first stitch of the round. So this one right here. We're going to insert our hook. And we're going to find the matching back stitch. So this last stitch is marked with our stitch marker. So we're just going to remove it. And we're going to insert our hook into that stitch going underneath both loops. And we're going to make a double crochet. And that just joins those 2 stitches together. Now we're going to find the next stitch, so this one right here. We're going to yarn over, insert our hook into that stitch, and we're going to find the matching back stitch. So we just worked into this stitch, so the one right next to it is here. So just insert your hook into that stitch and make a double crochet. And we're going to do this all the way across. So find your next stitch on the front, so right here, insert your hook, find the matching stitch on the back, right here, insert your hook, and make a double crochet. Alright guys, we're getting close to the end. We have 3 stitches left to work into, so we're just going to do our best to line up those stitches and insert our hook underneath both of them. And when we get to that last stitch, it can be a little hard to work into, so just try your best. Just insert your hook into this stitch here, okay, and just poke it through the back and make your double crochet. Alright, so this is what the front side of our potholder looks like, and this is what the back side looks like. Now we're going to make our chain circle, so chain 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Now when we have our chain 13, we're going to close our circle. We're going to find our first chain that we made, this one right here. Okay, So we're gonna go underneath that side loop. We're going to yarn over, pull through that loop, and pull through the loop on your hook. And that completes our slip stitch, and we've now closed our chain circle. So just pull up on the loop on your hook, leave a nice long tail, and when you're ready, we're going to trim it. Now thread your yarn needle with your tail, and we're gonna flip our work so that the back side of our pot holder is facing us, and we're just gonna weave it through a couple of stitches. Okay, and now pick any loop, any stitch, and insert your yarn needle, and now we're going to make a knot to secure our chain circle. Now use your preferred weaving in your ends method. And once it's secure, trim it with your scissors. Alright guys, so this is what your finished pot holder looks like. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments down below and I will do my best to answer them. I will see you guys next week on Wednesday, July 17th for pot holder number 2. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.